Hi everyone. I'm really excited to talk to you about a brand new program that we call thoughtful marketing. I might have mentioned this a little bit in the Live the Moment videos, the concept of the post moment and how to kind of capture something from the conversation that you had, either in the interview or, for example, in a connect working meeting that you have, and to send an email with a link or an article or maybe even a gift. I talked about some of that, but I want to talk about the new implementation of the process that we're going to implement, if you want, of endorsing all of your first level connections, or at least a specific group that we might kind of modify down to a geographical area. Basically, the tribe that is most important out of your first levels, and then basically endorsing all of them. And so what happens is, we'll just take a look at someone specifically. Okay, let's look at, so here's his messaging in LinkedIn, and here's obviously the script that we're sending out right now to recruiters. If we come down here, our program went to his profile and endorsed him for management. And he said back to the client, Ryan, "Thanks for endorsing me." Ryan says, "You're welcome." Okay. Now, we have written a whole new set of scripts so that you know what to say when someone says thank you. Depending on if you want to implement the full array of thoughtful, let's say, gestures, right? The capability is such that we could actually go and like a posting of someone from your first level. Like an article. You could even comment on an article in a generic way, like maybe, "Great stuff, Neil. Thanks for posting." We can wish them happy birthday. We can say congratulations on the new job. And we can say happy work anniversary. So every single first level connection, or at least the group that you want, every year, for example, if we kept it on, would get a happy birthday wish, happy work anniversary, and sometimes some people would get a third one, which is congrats on the new job. In addition to getting an endorsement from you and potentially the liking of articles and things like that. What Ryan and I kind of talked about was, if he's not interested in kind of Neil and what his background is and all that, if he's not really a target, then he just said you're welcome. Now, I would actually tell Ryan what I'm about to tell you, which is there's a script that is better than that. We want to leave a really warm placeholder for each of these people. Here are these scripts, a lot like the other scripts that you're familiar with. If you'll recall this LinkedIn Marketing Process and Scripts 2022, this is being updated with all of this information I'm talking to you about now. So you can see there's a whole lot more that's part of the outreach now. You'll still have all the scripts for each one, but this document's much longer now. Okay, but we're trying to very methodically put all this together so that it's very easy to understand what to do based on who's saying what. For example, if somebody says thanks, right? The people who say thanks for whatever it was, right? Endorsing me for the birthday wish, anniversary. The next step is for you to go look at their profile and determine if there's someone you want to try to set up a connect working meeting with. Based on the last communication with the individuals, what you're kind of looking at. So if it's a no, then you're going to basically say, "You're welcome, and I hope all is well with you. If there's anything I can do to be of value as a member of your network, please don't hesitate." Okay? Something like that. Because see, right now Neil works, he's a consultant, he's doing his own thing, right? But you don't know that in 2 years, he's not going to end up over at some company where when you find a job you're interested in, he could be your contact there. And now suddenly he's your best friend, you know what I'm saying? He's exactly the person you want. The back and forth messaging between Ryan and Neil is right here. Neil will see this, right? It's just going to be a chain all the way down. And so it's important to think about that with every interaction you have with someone. You shouldn't just let it sit there and let them be the last one that said something. You should always say something. If it's going to be your last message, say something really nice so that once you come back and say you go in to send Neil a message to ask him for a referral to his HR manager, he's going to have a hard time saying no because of how thoughtful you've been. I want you to think about that for a second. If Neil and every other first level connection you have has received a birthday wish from you and congrats on your work anniversary and endorsed and all that, imagine how hard it would be to say no to you when you ask him for a referral to his HR manager. You've got these scripts. When you don't want to set up that next meeting, don't forget to archive the person after you've sent this message. Hi, Bill, you're welcome. Hope things are going well. If I can ever use my thinking, just like I just said, right? You do that. But then one thing I want you to do is come in here. If he's that person, click on this and archive them. He'll disappear out of your messaging here. You're still connected. Everything's still the same. It's a way to keep this clean and organized. Send that message and then archive. Okay. Now, when somebody says thanks for any of these others, make sure you look at the message between you and the individual, and then pick up that thread of the conversation, as well as try to find something personalized. Here's an example, right? Let's go back to, you can see all these messages that we've sent out that he's connected to now. This is the second message that we've sent for all of his recruiters. Here's Dwayne. Thanks for endorsing me for Highways. It's my pleasure. Hope you're doing well. I hope things are well with you and your family. I'm always grateful to have been able to work with you. Okay, so he said a little bit more because he knows Dwayne. So basically, those that he feels more a closer relationship with, he's saying a little bit more. But it's, again, still, I will tell Ryan, there's more that needs to be done there, like I just mentioned. But if you want to send something to him, what you do is, obviously Ryan hasn't really been sending out much communication through LinkedIn, okay? But a lot of you have. So if you were to get this from Dwayne, right? The thanks for endorsing me for Highways. Okay, and then you're going to send your next message to him. Before this, you might have asked him to have a connect working meeting, or you might have reached out to him about a job at his company a year ago. There could be all kinds of messages sitting in here with the back and forth that you might have had. So obviously, your communication to Dwayne or anyone else, whether they're a recruiter or whoever they are, you're going to pick up that thread, right, that shows the continuity of the conversation in your response. Okay, and depending on how much back and forth you've had with the individual, just picking up that thread of conversation might be enough in terms of being personalized. If there's not much there, then you need to really come in here. Okay, it's my pleasure. Yes, I moved to Savannah. See how this is this conversation is ready for you to move into. Let's set up a time to talk. And so here's the thing, though, right? On some of these people, if they're pretty much a brand new person that you just met, your job is to go to the person's profile, and you should know this, right? But your job is to go, okay, yeah, I want to go to the next step. So now it's all about what can I find, right? How many first level 83 first level mutual connections. Okay, say he didn't really know Mark. Okay, bringing that up is a no-brainer in terms of rapport building, right? Or the personalization that I'm kind of talking about. Second message to this person, okay, it's been good. Insert something personalized. I can't believe we have over 80 first level connections. That's amazing, We're practically family at this point. That's the kind of thing you want to be able to personalize as much as you can. Okay, there was one, for example, where the person her name was Scarlett, okay? So this whole conversation went with I assume your name was from Gone with the Wind. And then I'm playing on the words because of Rhett, right? Rhett Butler. So, you're tying in something, okay? So I know that makes sense for you. You're either using the back and forth messaging as the way you pick up the conversation, or you're having to look for something to try to personalize, okay? At the end of the day, if you can't, right, if there's just nothing on their profile, that's fine. But at least you went and looked and tried. Here's one, for example, where you do want to try and set up a connect meeting. Here's the script. It's longer, but look at it, see what you think. I think it's really well written. And that's another thing we're really trying to do is in the thoughtful marketing, we're really trying to find a way to be super authentic and to write scripts that are deviant, and meaning deviate from what is kind of the norm. We want these to be fresh and connect with people as much as we can. We're giving you something to start with, but you can obviously change that up as much as you want. Feel free to go into your RoboForm, like we've always talked about, save this stuff in your safe notes. find the scripts that you want to use as your follow-up, as the one you're going to use to the thank you for the endorsements, that one, and all the other ones I'm talking about, like plug those in so you've got the base of the script in there ready to go. This document, we're going to be refreshing with each of you with all these new ones that we've just written up for the thoughtful marketing campaigns that we're going to be doing. Some of you probably still feel like you don't really know what to do when it comes to connect working. And perhaps you and your coach, you've done a lot of things related to interview prep. I think a lot of you might say, I'd love to do some connect working prep. Help walk through, like, what does one of those meetings actually look like? I want to feel more comfortable about it, because you might feel some trepidation in asking people to have a connect working meeting because you don't really know what to do, what to say, how it's supposed to go. So talk to your coach about that, and they'll work through with you until you feel comfortable. And then we can start sending out these messages and start to try to get some of these meetings set up. So you're going to get a refreshed LinkedIn Marketing Process Scripts 2022 with the thoughtful marketing scripts. And there's something very exciting that, in addition to this, related to sending actual handwritten cards or on stationery after a connect working meeting or after an interview. Or, for example, say you want to send one to all of your brand fans, right? Thanking them, saying how much you really appreciate them for the relationship that you've had over the years, right from the beginning, so that when you start to talk to them a little later, in a month or two from now, they've received these really great handwritten cards from you. So what that looks like, I'd really love to get your feedback on it, and I'm going to actually show this to you and ask you about that. This is a process that each of you get to decide how involved you want this messaging to be as part of the LinkedIn marketing that we're already doing for you. There's no question but that the feedback, very strong, that there's a client that's had, I think we send out probably 40 endorsements, and he already has 6 appointments booked with people that he used the right script on, the one I'm talking about now, where he pivots to hey, we should get together. Having a warmer lead to reach out on. Basically, we're chumming the water, right? And so the fish are coming right up to the side of the boat. By sending out these thoughtful messages and planting seeds, it's controlling your brand. So it's really all about impression management. We talk about how important making a good first impression is. It's why we are, changing your resume, updating your LinkedIn profile. Each time you have an interaction with somebody, if you'll remember that video in the beginning of the program where it's like the future and the contact lens is kind of showing in real time the social score, let's say, each person you're engaging with. This is kind of a little bit like that, right? Where we're ensuring the quality of the message, how often you interact with people, what you say, the impression management. We're basically building in a scheduled spontaneity that is surprising and refreshing to people. This is the first phase of thoughtful marketing, and it's been something that's been many, many years in thought. And now the technology and all the different pieces have moved into play where the relational leverage is finally able to be here for us to take advantage of it. And you're going to be able to separate yourself from so many other job seekers out there who don't have the means, the creativity, the ability to communicate and get messages in front of people at the right place at the right time. I think this is going to be a true game changer for each one of you. And I just want to say thank you so much for being our client and for trusting us. Onward and upward. Back in October of 2019. I'd like to be the first one to wish you happy birthday. When I watch this video, okay, you remember the scripts. And this is that motorcycle video. This is my birthday wish for all of 2019 to all my first levels. Monday, hey Rat, thanks for the endorsements. And thanks, so belated, for the birthday wishes you sent my way 2 years back. A millionth reminder for me, check LinkedIn messages frequently and show gratitude to the kind souls out there. Appreciate your gestures. Also, I'm looking at your byline, personal executive coach. Would love to hear more about it. That's a potential business opportunity of a guy going, I'm kind of looking for an executive coach.
This to me is like a long game tactic. Hey, like as much as I may need to get something the next 6 months, I may need something in the next 3 to 4 years. This right here is like, to me, more about the maintenance of the, and something that, again, it's 90% of the people fall into this category. Outside of like these like experiences where I'm looking for jobs, I maintenance is never on my mind. And this basically creates kind of almost like a kind of an operating model that you don't have to, it's almost like you don't have to be like as engaged as much as you would like. But let the bot, if you will,
Right.
kind of be your outreach, like I don't know, basically engine on your behalf. I dig it, man. I remember I mentioned to you earlier that the way I thought about organizing like the buckets or the groups was more of like a ranking, like 1 through 5. Like 1 is my unknown and 5 is my brand fan. This to me like has a purpose in certain buckets. It's like if I know this is like an unknown that I'm just trying to create some engagement with, but at some point I start talking to this person and we actually start building a relationship. This is something like, okay, I can turn this one up, like this feature off now.
Yeah.
And have it like point to other people. I would think like depending on what bucket you're in, these type of messages evolve, whether you get more or less of them. But the reality is these messages are intended to improve, or like I would say, like if you think about the maturity of the relationship, and the goal I think at some point is to move them closer to 5s and kind of up the scale, if you will. And what you want that person to feel like is that the relationship changes as it gets more mature, where they're not getting the exact same message.
You said this earlier, and this is exactly what I agree with. This is a long game, which is, look, you built a pool. You spent $100,000 on a swimming pool. Pool is meant to compare to a pool of contacts, right? Swimming pool, pool of contacts, LinkedIn. When you're in a job search, you're swimming in this pool all the time. So you're checking the chlorine, right? Like you've never kept the pool this clean before in your life. Like every part of the pool, you're covering it every night, you're heating it. Okay, what happens to the pool after you get a job?
It gets dirty.
You forget you didn't even put the cover on last night, right? So it's like, what happens is you leave it. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You leave it alone. So 2 years from now, it's a hot day. You're like, hot day meaning I just lost my job. You go running out to the backyard and you're like, oh, geez, leaves all over. Like, do you know how long it's going to take me to even get this? We're the pool maintenance service company that says, go on your way, go on your way. You may not swim in here, but we're going to come weekly. We're going to make sure repairs to the cover, chlorination, so that all of this is happening and you forgot. I need this forever because I want 2 years of birthday wishes, different wishes, right? It's all structured up to be there so that the moment I need to go swim again, any first level person I click on, what Nadim just said, you'll be so psyched to know that someone took care of your pool so that it's readily accessible. And the value of 1,800 people or whatever your number is, or if we chop it down to the tribe we talked about, whatever that is, for all of them to have been endorsed, for all of them to have had a little like on an article, if they did, to have the birthday wish, the new job wish, that by itself in an ongoing way. So anybody you go to do an ask of for anything, job search related, business to business related, whatever, to know that the thoughtful impressions that are already in there on anyone that you choose, you will be like, thank you.
It's an interesting one on how this one kind of flowed.
Okay.
So if you go all the way to the top, which is, it starts with your generated message.
So this is a brand new recruiter that we sent the message to, but on Tuesday, he hit accept. 2 minutes later, so he goes, accept, thank you for connecting. I work today in the lighting industry. If you're sticking to either supply chain, I do have a great contact with the recruiter. An intro, sweet. Really appreciate an opportunity to connect with anyone that was thanks. So this is at 2:07. 2 minutes later, okay. So we need to stay confidential. Very smart. Okay, and then like 4 minutes later, you say, I definitely lean more towards Symphony. Check out their website. They know a lot about the food industry as well as manufacturing. She is a good person and great at what she does. And then there's that. Many thanks, Jim. Please push them my way. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. To me, like, what stood out to me is if you go look at just the guy's title, it's evident that he works specifically in the lighting industry. He's a lighting recruiter. So like, if I were to just like size up like what he does for a living, I would have probably thought to myself, not a tree worth barking up, because he doesn't really represent my interest. Well, that answer technically was true, but this guy clearly works in an industry where he's 1 degree away from the person I was trying to get to. So to me, I think that kind of helps to me emphasize the power of the network. To add a word, like the power of the secondary network. The primary network is like obvious and you're conscious of it. You have a little bit more of a formed thought on what you can and can't do with it. Most people have no clue what they can do with their secondary network until you tap into it.
It's beautiful. It's so true. It's what you don't know where that really good lead can come from.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. And by the way, let's say, change this up a little bit, but like right now, say he didn't know this and all that until you guys actually met and had a networking meeting. The knowledge of Diane and Symphony Search, if you guys talked, he didn't know you're looking for a job. Let's just say you're able to meet him and have a networking meeting, but it was all set up very quickly without any sense of what your current situation was or his. If you had a networking meeting, this would have come out. He would have been like, oh, and he would have asked you all these questions like you did. And in real time, all this would have been a real conversation instead of a message chain we're reading. And you would have walked out of that meeting with a really great reference to Diane and the link, and he would have sent all this. And he would even be able to say even more to Diane, like, yeah, I actually had lunch with the guy. So he'd even be able to, if he sends Diane a message about you and, hey, you might be getting a message from this Nick guy, for him to go, hey, I met with him, seems like a great guy, all that. Well, that's even better for Diane than just, well, I've been communicating, in LinkedIn.
I haven't connected with Diane yet. Again, this was all yesterday, so figured I'd kind of talk to you first. So I don't want to just like connect with her and kind of copy and paste the generic message that we've sent to everybody else. I want to like reference the fact that, hey, connected to Jim McGregor, and when I shared that I was looking for opportunities in the food and beverage supply chain space, he said there would be no better person to reach out to than my friend Diane. So I don't know if like that is me being too personal, again, being not personal enough.
The more you can do ones where you can compliment them instead of just see how we both have this in association. But a compliment, right? A thing that makes me feel really good is always like on a hierarchy, the very best thing you could ever do in your personalization. So what I'm saying is if I'm looking at this, I'd be like, hey, Diane, you didn't know you have a huge fan in Jim McGregor. How can you give her this incredible compliment in addition to saying, hey, I'm reaching out to you because he told me to, but I also want to let you know, man, was he effusive in what he said? And you could write it as if you talked to him. She wouldn't know the difference. Amp it up a little, in a way. It's like, wow, I would feel really good if someone sent me that message. I talked to a person, they said, I need to talk to you. And by the way, wow, they said, you're the best in Chicago, bar none. When it comes to this, I just feel very grateful that Jim connected me over to you. And what would you like to do, from here in terms of beginning the conversation? But that's the kind of warmth. Always should be looking for a compliment to give if you ever have a chance.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
That's how I go about it. Obviously, back to Jim. I mean, my pleasure. You're doing it great. Like the way you're, many thanks, Jim. All that. It's like, keep that going. And then maybe after you talk to her, a message back to Jim. Hey, Jim, I actually did talk to her. And you're right. She's amazing. Man, I'm so glad our paths, that you went out of your way to help me, even though I'm actually not in your industry, sure speaks a lot about you. And I, by the way, I will look for people I know in lighting to send your way in that. And I hope if there's ever anybody in my network or anything I can do for you, I am right there to help you, and hope that we can continue to keep in touch with each other. Like, you can't be too effusive and too complimentary in establishing your intention with that guy to say, I hope we can actually be really strong, long-term professional friends.
I think what you're suggesting here is a recipe for good outcomes. So
Good. Hi, everybody. Just wanted to show you something, and I would love to get your feedback on it. So one of the things that I've been talking to you about is this thoughtful marketing launch that we're doing. I just feel so strongly that now in 2022, that authenticity, something that is real, is the commodity that people are really wanting and that sets you apart from everyone else, because humans kind of migrate towards the easy. And so let me just give a quick story. So when I got out of school, I went to this interview, and then I came home and I was talking to my older brother, and he goes, you know what you should do? You should send a thank you letter. Like, tell them thanks for the interview and reiterate your interest, and, so on and so forth. Now, most of you will say, well, of course, the thank you letter. But here's the thing. There was no thank you letter at the time at all. Okay. So that wasn't a thing. I go, okay, great. So I sent it in, and about 2 weeks later, I heard back, and they said, we want you to come in for a final interview. And so I went in, and there's another person there, and they said to us, we interviewed 40 people, and the two of you sent a letter to us. And we thought that really made you guys stand out. It's because it was kind of a sales job. It's exactly the kind of thing we're looking for. We're going to offer both of you the job. Think about that, okay? At the time, 38 people didn't send the thank you. 2 of us did. Now, for the last, 15 years, 10 years, let's say, there would probably be 38 people that would send the thank you email, and maybe 2 that still haven't gotten the memo. What stands out and what's unique and memorable by today's standards is what? It's basically going back, right? It's the old school thing where it actually takes some effort. And so people appreciate that. I mean, they know, like, wow, he must have had to have gone down to the store, gotten a card, hand wrote out this message, got the address, got a stamp, and mailed this to me. Okay, that's so different than an actual email. I want to introduce to you this idea where we can take any card and just picture any card, okay? And you could choose from all the cards you want. And then handwritten note inside, it's with a pen. Not the kind of cheap stuff that, was novel years ago where you could print something off on your computer. This is literally a robot hand that writes this. People would not be able to discern in any way that this was actually custom made. And obviously the custom markets come a long way. And so the cool thing about it is, for example, as a client, we could create a logo for you. And I was thinking of creating a universal logo, just with someone's like name. So mine would be like an RK. So it's like a company logo, right? But it's just your logo, like it's your own personal stationery. You could have your address at the bottom, and then the handwritten, thoughtful note. So what would happen is you would have a process set up where you'd walk out of your interview, walk out of your Connect Working meeting. You're almost looking for a reason to send out these cards, right? Because it's so unique and so different and unexpected, and people love to get something in an envelope in the mail. So imagine the simplicity of, we've already written a bunch of different thoughtful follow-up messages. You would go and choose them, and then you could even tell us which one is your go-to one with any changes you want, and then we'll just take care of sending out this custom piece for you. But I want to streamline and make the thoughtful gesture as easy as possible so that you're much more likely to actually do it. Separate yourself from the competition nowadays is worth it. And to me, this is a fairly inexpensive way to really, truly stand out.